My wife is ready. That's for sure. I've never seen someone so eager to give birth. But I guess baby sister is just not ready to come out. But thank you for asking. So her due date's on Friday. So perhaps she'll show up on time. Or good morning, Yocheved. Hello, Fruzbek. Or, she could arrive a few days late and be born on her dad's birthday. Because my birthday is October 13th, which is, when is that? The 13th is next Tuesday. So who knows? I could be sharing my birthday with my daughter. I don't know how I feel about that. Do any of you share birthdays with like siblings or parents? It would be a nice birthday gift. So my first daughter, this girl, Sophia Ari Edelman, she was supposed to be born on my wife's birthday, but then she came 3 weeks early, which my wife was happy about because she didn't want to share her birthday with anyone. So who knows? We'll see. I'll keep you posted. We'll definitely both be sharing our birth months. That's for sure. Because if she doesn't come on Friday, the doctors aren't going to let her go past a week past her due date. That's a good question, Ashley. Let's hear from everybody else if you can hear me well or not. So I that's good. Good, good, good. You can always try logging off and logging back if you want. There's no harm in doing that. I know a couple of you requested to take a look at some AP questions, which was nice to see how eager you were to get some practice and more of an understanding of what questions look like on the AP exam. So we're going to do two today. And we'll be doing some more AP questions infused into our time together throughout the week. And we're also going to, I'll present you some questions from the Regents exam, the US history and government Regents, right? Because theoretically, unless they're canceled again, that's something that you would be taking this year as well. There's no Regents for government independently. But if you look at the US, right, their US Regents exam, it's called US Regents or US History and Government Regents. And so what you're going to be learning in this class will also help you for the US History and Government Regents. And so I'll share some of those questions as well. And then you'll see how do the Regents questions compare to the AP questions. And you'll see that there's a political cartoon. Regents questions have political cartoons as well. But pretty much every question on the AP exam is stimulus based, meaning there'll be a cartoon, there'll be a passage for you to read. They're not pure content questions, which is a good thing. Because on the Regents, there's a lot of just funky, pure content knowledge questions. So take a look at the cartoon. In case you can't read it, this says unlimited special interest cash. Because this is a wave of cash that's crashing over this sign. And if you can't read it, the sign says the Great American Democratic Process. And please throw all your answers in the chat. I want to crowdsource what you think the answer is. And then we'll talk about why one answer perhaps is more correct than the other answers. So thank you, Yocheved, for being the brave soul to be like first person to share what they think the answer is. I was actually brewing some tea for some students last period, which was fun. Gong fu style, like traditional Chinese tea brewing. It is. It's nice to have a few students with you because for this period I'm all alone. Well, physically. Not to say that I don't love each and every one of you, and I love teaching this period. So let's hear some other thoughts on what we think the answer might be to this question. So some of you are thinking that it's A. So I see A's and D's. I'm going to share a few things with you. First, let's make sure that we're on the same page in terms of what this question is asking, what's it talking about. So you see here it says special interest. In the question it says contributions from special interests. What comes to mind when you think of that? Do you know what is meant by special interest? Could you give me an example of a special interest? I know this might be a little new to you, some of the vocabulary. And it was definitely something that came up in the first presidential debate. So not quite for Uzbek. Let me throw something out there for you. Okay. So remember during the debate, Trump was talking about the price of insulin. I hope you remember because he said, we're going to get the price so low, it's going to be like, do you remember what he compared the price of insulin to? Water, right? It's going to be like water. A great example of a special interest is the pharmaceutical industry because they would not like to see the price of insulin like water. They would like it to be as high as possible so they can make the most profit. And so Trump said, I'm going to take on the pharmaceutical lobby, the pharmaceutical industry, right? I'm going to get the price of pharmaceuticals way down. So companies like the pharmaceutical industry, they donate a lot of money to all sorts of political campaigns, Democrats and Republicans, to try to get the laws to favor their business. Weren't pluralists based upon special interests? So pluralists kind of, yes, it's connected. So they see like government power being controlled by lots of different groups. So like pluralists believe that it's not just like the the elite that control the government. It's not just like a few major like political players. That like business plays a major role as well in influencing governmental policy. So special interests could be anything, like, but usually when we care most about them or talk about them, it's big businesses that have the money and power to influence government. So like, there's organizations like there's groups that petition for like homeless people's rights, nonprofit organizations, but they don't have the same cash as like the pharmaceutical industry. So the most powerful special interests are those with lots of money. and connected to big business. So with that conversation, go back to your choices and let's hear from you in terms of what you think the answer is. Can nonprofits make a profit? So that money has to go back into the nonprofit. Not necessarily businesses, right? They have owners, they have shareholders. Nonprofits don't sell stock. So, like, the money that's earned, if it's a for profit company, will go to the owners. And so, in terms of a nonprofit organization, so College Board is nonprofit. So, that doesn't mean that they can't pay their CEO more or that they can't pay their employees more. But that money doesn't necessarily go into the like owners of the College Board's pockets. But you're 100% right. Like, you know what I was talking about? Why did New York State cancel their Regents exams? And why did the College Board continue to offer exams last school year? Well, it costs the state money to have Regents exams. But the College Board, they make money from offering the exams. So of course they're going to find out an alternative way to offer the exam. So hit up the chat box. What's the answer to this question? So let's talk about A and D. That's funny. A and D is actually like butt cream that you put on babies when they have diaper rash. I don't know if you know that. Okay. So D says special interests have a large amount of cash, but a small number of votes to influence elections. That is true. I don't know if it's the best answer, but that's true, right? Because pharmaceutical, like the number of people in the pharmaceutical industry is not necessarily as high as like the number of people that are voting. But A is the better answer because it connects to the main idea of the cartoon more so. That contributions from special interests have undermined fair and competitive elections. Because again, this wave of cash is going to decimate this little symbol right here, which stands for the Great American Democratic Process. So that's the main idea of the cartoon. So A connects better. But I see why you would say D as well for Uzbek. So that's an AP question. You guys got this. You want to do another one? Please, begging for questions. All right. So we're gonna do one more question. Then I'm gonna show you something I brought in today. I'll do a little show and tell with it. And then you're also going to, similarly, you're going to analyze what is on your election ballot, the November 3rd election ballot, based upon your address and where you live, which determines, again, your district, your congressional district, and what offices you will be voting for, or people that are eligible to vote in your neighborhood, what they'll be voting for. Second question. This connects to our vocabulary sheet as well. So one of these court cases is identified on our unit vocabulary sheet. Oop, and I was highlighting it. That's okay. If you need a refresher, you might want to check out term 7 and 8. So that's a little refresher. And congrats to you guys who've been beating my top score on Quizlet. I get notifications every time that happens. So what's the answer to this question? Which of the following Supreme Court cases is most relevant to the cartoon? I know we didn't talk about all these cases yet. And actually, this is an easy question if it was on your exam because there's only like 10 court cases you need to know for the exam. And none of these other cases, actually, this case you need to know as well, but the others you don't. Let me show you one more thing. This is also in your outline sheets. So I gave you a list, Supreme Court cases on the AP exam. There's only, how many are there? 10, no, 15. So I outlined them for you. So this one, New York Times versus the United States. This was during the Nixon administration when the Times wanted to publish the Pentagon Papers, which talked about like the crimes that Nixon committed in terms of breaking into the Watergate, breaking into the Democratic headquarters. And you can see that over here in terms of like espionage and spying. And so the New York Times sued the US government in order to publish that, claiming it was freedom of the press. And they won that case, and they were able to publish in the New York Times. So again, not a conservative paper that sued to do that because, well, actually, maybe papers were less biased at that point. Or maybe the New York Times was always a liberal newspaper that was trying to put a liberal spin on things. Not that much has changed. So let's go back to the choices. Nope. These two cases had to do with gerrymandering. Do you remember what gerrymandering is? We talked about that yesterday with our congressional districts. Does anybody remember the definition of gerrymandering? So one thing that we pointed out yesterday when we look at our congressional districts in New York State, and it's the same in every other state, what's up with all these weird funky patterns, right? Why is it cut this way? How was that decided? Well, again, there's going to be more Democrats over here. Yep, it's manipulating to help the incumbent. And there's more Republicans that live over here. So what they do is they come to an agreement based upon who's in power, how you're going to change the districts. So again, if you're a Republican, you're going to get reelected over here. And if you're a Democrat, you're going to get reelected over here. They don't want any competition. It's kind of just like, let's say a student council election, and you hand out ballots only to the people that you know are going to vote for you. So that's kind of the same thing. You cut the district in a way where you know that the people that are in your district are going to vote to reelect you. So it's voter manipulation. Well, kind of, yeah. It's electoral manipulation. It might not be voter manipulation because they already want to vote for you, but it's electoral manipulation. So there's been a lot of Supreme Court cases connected to gerrymandering, but still a thing. And then Citizens United, again, this was a Supreme Court case during the Obama administration that said businesses can give as much money as they want to political campaigns, causing this wave of cash to run wild in our democratic system. Capitalism trumps democracy, perhaps. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? The argument that the Supreme Court gave that that's fair is it would infringe or violate someone's First Amendment right. Like it would violate the pharmaceuticals industry's First Amendment right of like freedom of speech to not be able to give as much money as they want. So they said it was like your freedom of speech equivalent to that, to like vote or use your money to influence politics. So what's your thoughts on that? Do you think that business should be able to spend as much as they want to voice, to increase their political voice? Or do you think that we need campaign finance reform? Feruzbek seems like he's not in favor of Citizens United. It's a very, very important decision. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about in relation to these questions? So these aren't too challenging, and we'll be practicing throughout this whole course. And again, every question that we do together will be on your exam as well. So these questions will appear on your exam. We do about 25%, maybe 50% sometimes of the questions together. And then the rest of the questions will be new. I really hope my computer doesn't die. Okay. Let me try to be quick because I think I have like 10 minutes left on my computer. Yeah, midterms and unit tests. Okay. So I have something I want to show all of you. Got this in the mail the other day. It's my absentee ballot. This is how I send it back. I have to put in that form as well. And so if you take a look at the absentee ballot, you might notice some things that are familiar, like president. That's something you're all familiar in terms of a government office that we vote for. We vote for president. And so it has Biden's name and Kamala Harris, his running mate, and it has Donald Trump and Mike Pence, but it has some other people as well that you probably never heard about, or that were nominated by political parties that you never heard about. But in addition to that, there's all these other things that we get to vote for, including on the front, New York State Supreme Court judges. Because we talked about how you vote for judges, just not US or federal judges. But for New York State judges, you get to vote for them. You have to pick 9 of them over here. And so if you voted in person, you'd get one of these long things, you'd fill it out, and then you'd scan it in to the voting machine. But I am going to fill this out and mail it back to them. Hopefully the US Postal Service is still functioning and my ballot will be received and counted. So we talked about this before, right? I just want to review a few things and then you're going to check out your ballot. So we have 3 branches of government and 3 levels of government. And there's a lot of fighting back and forth between these branches and these levels of government. So let's just go over something really quickly. So like for the executive branch, right? The executive enforces the laws. On the federal level, what do we call this person? Who's the executive of the whole country? The president. What do we call this person on the state level? What's their title and who is this person? We have the governor, right? What's his name? Cuomo, right? And then we also have an executive of the city. That's our mayor. Who are we talking about there?